Sir.
It's a privilege to be here today to celebrate an important step for Ontario's energy future and for the hardworking people of Cambridge. And before we begin, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to the Honourable Stephen Lecce, Minister of Energy and Electrification, and to thank you, John McQuarrie, President of BWXT, for hosting us today. Our government has a plan to expand and refurbish nuclear energy, and a plan that will help meet growing electrical demands with clean, reliable power. And I know that Cambridge and the Waterloo region are going to play a crucial role in this part of this expansion. That work being led by local industry, including BWXT Canada, who already support more than 1,200 good-paying jobs in this hardworking community. A company that not only is investing in its people, but expanding its operations here in Cambridge and across Ontario. It was just last year that John and the team at BWXT announced an $80 million investment to expand their local facility. And today, thanks to the leadership of Premier Ford, Minister Lecce, I know we will put this expanded facility to good use. Building on the partnership, we're going to continue to support our energy sector while boosting local jobs and economic growth. With that, I'm pleased to invite Minister Lecce to the podium for an exciting announcement for our community. Minister, over to you. Thank you.
All right. Well, good morning. I want to give a big thanks to the amazing Member of Provincial Parliament here in Cambridge, Brian Riddell. Brian has been a machine, working very hard to ensure that jobs flow to this region. And I want to give another shout out, of course, to another leader in this region, and that is my friend Jess Dixon, who has herself led the way in ensuring that medical isotopes are a real emphasis for Ontario and the world. So thank you, Jess, for your leadership. And Donna Scully, who's been an absolute champion of ensuring we build up a clean, affordable energy future for families in her region, in Hamilton, right across Ontario. And I do want to thank John and the team here at BWXT, the women and men who are with us, who build out the components for made in Canada technology for affordable energy for the next generation. And I'm really honored to be with you all today. I mean, we're up here, but you do the work. And we're in a space that is dedicated to this Canadian technology, Canadian materials, Canadian workers, helping to solve the global challenges of energy. And that gives me hope as an Ontarian that in the difficulty we face in the world with President Trump and so many challenges on the horizon, we as a country have never been more united and more determined to leverage our clean energy advantage for the world. Because we are too in this province at a pivotal moment, one that represents significant change. And we talk about these tariffs, we recognize the challenge coming from the South under President Trump. But it also presents an opportunity for Ontario because the Premier has a vision for a province that is growing. It's attracting world-leading industry like clean EV manufacturing, clean steel production, as well as preparing for a growing population. And we're building a better future for our children, and this success comes with significant responsibility. And as the Premier is leading the way against the U.S. tariffs, we must and we are continuing to plan for a prosperous future for Ontario, planning to ensure we have the affordable and reliable energy that we will need, because we're going to need 75% more power between now and 2050. And as we often say, that's like adding 4.5 cities of Toronto to the grid. In the face of global pressures on energy supply chains and costs, our government is committed to a Made in Ontario solution that guarantees our affordable energy future, that energy security that we need. And that's exactly why our province is leading the largest expansion and refurbishment of nuclear energy on the continent, because Ontario's nuclear fleet has been a cornerstone of our energy system for decades, delivering, yes, reliable and affordable and emissions-free power for our province. But more than that, it's been a driver of economic growth and good-paying jobs, not just in this community, but really right across the province, including here in Cambridge. This brings me some very exciting news, because today, our government and Premier is proud to announce that we've signed another deals with this company at BWXT to deliver over $1 billion of investment and over 350 jobs right here in Cambridge for the next 7 years. And those 350 families are going to be supported by stable, good-paying work, an achievement that we should be proud of because we're leveraging made in Canada solutions for the world. And it's going to help produce the components which we're going to need to complete the refurbishment of the Pickering station, a station which our Premier said yes to refurbishing just this past week. And we're going to be building the first SMRs, the first small modular reactors in the G7 here in Ontario. And these projects will deliver enough power for 3 million homes. And that includes 48 steam generators for the refurbishments of Pickering's nuclear station. And these generators, which convert heat from reactors into steam to drive the turbines and generate the electricity, are the key deliverables that will be provided for us over the next 7 years of this contract, ensuring that the station continues to provide reliable, affordable, emissions-free power for literally decades to come. Now, BWXT will be the first company in the world to manufacture a reactor pressure vessel for the BWRX 300 small modular reactor that, as you know, is going to be at the Darlington, our new Darlington project. And we're showing the world that we can build the next generation right here at home, on time and on budget. And I'm looking forward to working with Ontario Power Generation and GE to deliver more contracts for Ontario workers for the benefit of our economy as we build this technology in Ontario for our children and our grandchildren as we export these technologies abroad. I was excited to actually take our message to the world when I was in Poland, when I was in Estonia, in Romania. The world is watching and turning to Ontario as a true energy superpower, a clean energy superpower. These are nations that wanted to end the dependence on, for example, Vladimir Putin's resources and the financing of these human rights abusing regimes. And now more than ever, we have a country of amazing bounty of natural gas and petroleum and nuclear energy and hydrogen and all these capabilities, and we got to get them to the world to displace these dictators, to promote democracy and create better jobs here at home. And so that's what the message we took in a global market. And I will tell you, nations around the world, democracies and allies, want more Canadian tech and more Canadian resources. And we're going to make sure that the facilities like this are set up to export world-class nuclear components and expertise to all regions of the world. Whether it's fighting US tariffs or showcasing our innovation abroad, we will stand up for Ontario workers and our businesses. Now, before I conclude, I just want to thank the team at BWXT for their dedication and their hard work. You have been an incredible partner. Your expertise and innovation are something we are proud of because you are literally powering our future, helping us build a clean, strong, and prosperous Ontario. So together, we're meeting the challenges of the province for the next decade. And with the workers like those with us today, I know that we will continue to generate the hope and the opportunity and the light and energy we're going to need for the next generation. So I thank you for this. I thank the workers for doing an amazing job. And I thank the president of commercial operations here at BWXT for working with us in Ontario and OPG to sign this contract, create 350 jobs, and leave a legacy behind for all Canadians. John, I'll turn it to you. Thanks so much.
Hello everyone, I'm John McQuarrie, President of Commercial Operations for BWX Technologies. Welcome to our Cambridge facility, a site we acknowledge is operating on the traditional territory of many First Nations. Thank you, Minister Lecce, for visiting our facility and sharing this exciting news for our business, our community here in Cambridge, and for the province. And thank you to MPP Brian Riddell for your ongoing great support that we've enjoyed over many years. I especially want to thank our customers, Ontario Power Generation, GE Hitachi, and Canadam, for the business they have given us and for the confidence that they have in us at BWXT. And of course, I want to thank our nearly 2,000 employees across our many locations in Canada for their hard work and commitment to delivering for our customers, communities, and investors. The two contracts we are announcing today will support the life extension of the Pickering Nuclear Generating Station and deployment of one of the world's first small modular reactors, which OPG is building at Darlington. For the Pickering station, BWXT will manufacture 48 steam generators right here in Cambridge, helping to extend the life of the station for another 30 or more years. This work will create and sustain 250 highly skilled jobs for welders, fitters, machinists, as well as engineers and support staff over the next decade. For the small modular reactor designed by GE Hitachi Nuclear Energy that is being deployed at Darlington by OPG, BWXT will manufacture the reactor pressure vessel, a key component for that reactor. This work will create and sustain about 100 more jobs. So these two contracts together enable BWXT to create more than 350 good, long-term jobs here in Cambridge. It's a major point of pride for us that BWXT is the first company in North America to begin manufacture of a reactor pressure vessel for a small modular reactor. With OPG leading the way on SMR deployment in the G7, it gives us the opportunity to manufacture and export these large components around the world. BWXT is continuing to take strategic steps to ensure we can meet the anticipated demand. We are investing $80 million to increase the capacity and the capability of this facility to manufacture large nuclear components. We are committed to support the effort to bring clean and reliable electricity to Ontarians, and these projects will go a long way to help us all to deliver on that promise. Thanks to the vision and leadership provided by the Government of Ontario. So thank you for joining us here today to celebrate, and I invite Minister Lecce back to the podium.
Okay. Alrighty.
We will now open up the floor to questions from the media. Please come up to the mic and state your name and outlet. As a reminder, it's one question and one follow-up. We'll start with our first reporter.
Hi, my name is Hannah. I'm with CTV News Kitchener. I just wanted to ask, so what prompted the government to authorize such a significant investment in the refurbishment of the Pickering plant?
You know, the province has an updated energy forecast. The Independent Electricity Systems Operator put out in the fall, suggesting we need 75% more power by 2050. That was 60% just a year ago. It's up 15% in a singular year, demonstrating the explosive demand on the grid unless the province thinks and plans ahead. And our Premier has a vision for affordable energy. It's not a talking point, it's a realization, because a decade ago, energy was the most expensive on the continent because the former government, frankly, allowed ideology to get in the way of practical, good ideas and of investing in nuclear. The Liberals were going to close the Pickering nuclear station and turn their backs on literally thousands of workers and 2,000 megawatts of power we can't live without. So we took a different approach. We're leaning into nuclear. It's clean, it's affordable, it's reliable. And we are truly a nuclear nation. We have the full we have this amazing competitive advantage. We've got we've got uranium in Saskatchewan, and likewise a variety of necessary natural resources to help fuel these nuclear plants. We've got the refining capacity in Port Hope, chemical being one of the big players in this space. We have the best skilled workers. We have the best technology, made in Canada tech. You put that all together, we are the only nation or the only province within the world building on time and on budget. So we want to take this message globally. We want to create jobs back at home and deliver affordable power for families. So we're meeting this demand, we're thinking about the future. And to be fair, the small modular reactors we announced in 2021. We've been working towards this outcome for many years, and I'm just grateful, but we've got a great partner here who've been willing to put their hand up and build in Ontario with Ontario workers for Ontario's energy demands. And that gives me a great sense of, frankly, optimism as a Canadian that wants to see more of our workers, more of our tech, powering our growth at home and abroad.
So follow-up, how does this project align with the province's broader energy and economic strategies?
So between Pickering and the small modular reactors, when you put the Pickering extension, 30-year extension of that amazing asset, one of the best continuous nuclear reactors, one of our CANDU reactors that's ever operated on Earth is at Pickering. So that's 2,000 megawatts of power. We're building 4 small modular reactors. That's another 1,200 megawatts of power. You put that all together, that's power for 3 million homes. And we need the power now more than ever. But it's affordable power, and it's reliable power. That's the big difference between this power source and alternatives. We need baseload power. These companies need reliable 24/7 power. So I am really honored that we're making this step forward, $1 billion investment, 350 net new jobs, 250 more families will be working because the Premier had a vision to build out for the future and stop the last minute disjointed scrambling that many industrialized nations are around the world trying to figure this out. We have enough power for now, and we have enough power for the next 25 years. We're building towards that. It's why I was proud to announce that we're going to be looking at exploring the largest nuclear reactor on Earth in Port Hope. A massive expansion of net new nuclear power, net new, not the refurbishments, not an expansion. This is another 2.5 Darlingtons potentially for the province. So we're very serious about energy security, and we're leaning into nuclear power because it's safe, it's affordable, it's reliable, and it creates amazing jobs. And we want more of that for the future.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Hi, Prabnoor from The Record. So with the announcement of new jobs being brought to the region, what steps are being taken to address the housing needs that will inevitably accompany this growth?
Well, certainly we are ensuring that investments are being made in social housing and affordable housing, and we're reducing the impediments to get housing built. In the Ministry of Energy, one of the first policies I announced was fixing the last mile. This idea that we used to force a residential developer to pay 100% of the electricity connection costs. So think about a person wants to build 100 homes, and they now, under the old system, would have had to pay 100% of the cost to connect to the grid. But they're not going to be the only user of that expansion. There'll be other builders that follow them, and yet they had to pay 100%, which disincentivized growth, residential development. We need more homes. So we came up with a new formula. We said, you'll pay for just what you need, the load, just what you need, which on average is saving housing $20,000 a unit. So we've come up with innovative ways, even just in the Ministry of Energy, to reduce costs, to incentivize housing. And I know that the government, the Premier, are very seized on this. I mean, over the past many years, we've had the highest housing stats in the history of Ontario. But we recognize there's more to do. The federal government controls immigration. 1 million people come into the province with no plan where to keep them, where to house them, where to educate them, where they get access to health care. So we need the feds to actually communicate with the province that delivers social services and reflect on the number of people. Like, I'm the son of immigrants. We're for immigration. But we need to be aligned, and it needs to be relevant, it needs to be connected to our economy. Because somehow we have people without jobs and jobs without people. And that is a bizarre skills mismatch. So the feds need to be smarter about this. Bring in the immigrants that have the skills we need to fill our economic needs. And that's the focus we're emphasizing to the federal government, to the current federal government, and to the next federal government to do a better job at this. But in Ontario, we're leading with a big program to build more housing and reduce the cost, the development charges, to incentivize more growth. But I may turn to Jess or Brian, who have a lot more knowledge on the local side of some of the work we've done on the projects in housing.
We're building all over Cambridge right now, and we have projects that have been brought out by various developers, and we are moving forward with building more houses to support the people that are going to be working here in the future. Thank you.
For the Minister, so with the reports of a potential slap election, how confident are you in your government's readiness to face the voters?
Look, I'm confident that if we bring forth a program that's focused on affordability and job creation, the people of Ontario are going to rally behind that vision. At the end of the day, I think most people who came to this province or country, many of us are, as I mentioned, immigrants to Canada. We came here to work, to dream, and to build a better life. And, you know, I'm going to respect that I'm at a government announcement, and I'm not going to go there, but what I'll simply say is our focus today and every day has been about creating more jobs, about reducing costs and making life affordable. It's why we cut the gas tax by 10 cents. It's why we announced the largest home renovation savings program, this new energy conservation program, $12 billion back to the people of Ontario, launches this month to reduce the cost for energy bills. It's why we have been on a roll focused on building out long-term infrastructure. The whole emphasis of Doug Ford's vision for Ontario is that we could build a province that is affordable, where everyone could get ahead. And I'm proud of that record. I'm proud of the work we're doing in this region. And the fact that today, after many months of work, we're announcing a $1 billion contract, 2 of them, that leads to 350 more good jobs and more families working. I think our record should stand up and people should reflect on the choices, because what we don't want is to go back to a period of time where taxes were high, where energy rates were the most expensive on the continent, where people had to make ridiculous choices of eating and heating, and that cannot be our future. And I think Doug Ford, our Premier, has been demonstrating leadership at a critical time in the country. Like, we have a national leadership void in this country, and honestly, God bless this man for stepping up at a critical time to fight for our country, fight for our jobs, and make it known that we're not going to take this lightly if we get a 25% tariff imposed. So our focus is on getting the job done in governing, and when this election is called, I'll be more prepared to answer those questions after Wednesday. But for now, we're going to keep working on things like this that create jobs and reduce energy bills for families.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Doug Cogson from Cambridge Today. It's been mentioned in the past by the Premier that you could use energy to retaliate to the tariff threat. What's the feasibility of that claim?
Certainly we have a toolkit of options of progressive steps that the government will take, the provincial and federal government will take to respond. If this tariff is imposed, as the President suggested will, the Premier is making clear that we will respond in force to ensure that the Americans understand that the costs to their consumers and to families in America will be worse off. That energy and gasoline costs will rise. The costs of goods and groceries will rise. So this perception that a tariff is a tax on someone else is just simply wrong. It's a tax on Americans, and it can only be interpreted as such. And so we're taking this message to the U.S. It's why I was in D.C. last week for the inauguration, where we met with U.S. decision makers. We had an opportunity for a brief discussion with the incoming Secretary of the Treasury. In every meeting we've held, we've told them we are stronger together, which is why the Fortress AMCAN vision the Premier's unveiled of an energy alliance is in their national interest and their national security interests. So certainly that is an option. We'll unveil. We're not going to give any advantage to the other side of this negotiation, but I appreciate the question. It's certainly a viable path we may consider down the road. But the bottom line is we would rather revert the tariff by working on this shared AMCAN strategy that integrates our energy partnership and creates better jobs on both sides of the border. But I'll tell you, what resonated with American decision makers, often Republican decision makers who control the House and the Senate and won the popular vote, and the presidents in the White House, is that if in a binary world, it's like you're buying from Canada, you're buying uranium from Saskatchewan, or critical minerals from Ontario, or petroleum from Alberta, or you're buying it from Venezuela, Iran, or Russia. So you could enable and finance the adversaries, or you can stand with democracies who trade $500 billion a year with you, that create 9 million jobs in your country, that fought the same wars, that share the same embrace of freedom. So that resonated with them. And so I hope that message will resonate with because we have an audience of one right now in the US, and I hope the President will understand the value of Ontario and Canada to the world. But in the meantime, we stand ready to respond, and our Premier is obviously very serious about the risks, the hundreds of thousands of jobs that are at risk with this tariff. So we need Team Canada to rally right now and keep the pressure on the US that any type of imposition of a tariff on Ontario is a tax on Americans, and we're going to keep making that message clear to our US partners.
Hi, Minister. I'm Cameron Muller with CBC News.
Hi, Cameron.
We're here today because the Ontario government has authorized Ontario Power Generation to sign these contracts with BWXT. I'm curious if there was any red tape that needed to be cut in order to finalize these deals, and what that red tape was.
Look, we've been moving very quickly on the small modular reactor rebuild. We're the first in the G7 to be building an SMR at Darlington. The first one will be in service by year 2030, the early 30s, the entire fleet into the mid-2030s. So we're excited about this progress. We're leading the way. And we've cut red tape. We've cut through the bureaucracy to get things done. It's why we launched the largest competitive energy procurement in Canadian history, 5,000 megawatts, and we increased it to 7,500 in December. It's why we announced the refurbishment of Pickering. It's how we announced the near completion of the Darlington nuclear refurbishment, where we just put Unit 1 back on 140 days ahead of schedule. Like, honestly, and this is not like, I know I'm just a spokesperson for the space, but these are the workers that are doing amazing work, like on time, and in many cases ahead of schedule, which is a crazy story to tell in nuclear when every other partner around the world, France, the UK, you name it, the US, are building 10, 20 years sometimes over their critical path. So very proud of the work we're doing in Ontario. We'll continue to cut red tape and anything that slows down our ability to get these things done, but we're moving with speed. Pickering, that refurbishment commitment, we just announced $4 billion last week. We announced investment in hydroelectric energy on Friday in Northern Ontario, another $2 billion there. Like, honestly, the Premier's kept us busy, and we're going to keep rolling up our sleeves to deliver affordable power, keep energy rates low, and stand up against taxes like the carbon tax, which adds 25% to an Ontarian's hydro bill. So, but John, I mean, do you have anything you want to talk about? About red tape, anything you want to share on that question? No? No red tape, according to John. He's going to tell me afterwards. There's so many things we got to do better, but the truth is we're working together, I think, is the key message, because we're not a party that tolerates bureaucracy, actually. We want to get things done, and we got to move at the speed of the market, not the speed of government that takes 30 years to make a decision. Like, we're making big decisions. We passed the Affordable Energy Act that now requires government to build a 25-year integrated energy plan. First time we've ever done that. So we're thinking about the future, and we're moving at the speed that we need to guarantee affordable power for families.
And a follow-up for you, Minister. If you could explain the value and the relevance of these small modular reactors and what they might have to Darlington and northern and rural communities.
Sure. And I'm going to just encourage my colleagues, they may have some additional commentary from their own experiences on energy, on affordability, isotopes, the whole area of work that nuclear is providing for the world. But before I turn to them, look, the small modular reactors is really important. This allows us to build stackable energy generation, affordable energy generation, reliable power anywhere in the world, notionally. These SMRs can be deployed. And what's wonderful about them is they produce 300 megawatts of clean power, which is like the power for 300,000 people. Like, you could power, 2 of those, 3 of those could notionally power this region. And so you think about growing areas in Northern Ontario or industrial areas in the southwest of Sarnia where they need more localized power because transmission costs a lot. And so we can deploy local generation to where we need it in Ontario and where the world will need it. And look at Poland, $100 billion commercial agreement we secured in Poland, we reaffirmed when I was there this fall with my colleague, where we announced a commitment to send them SMRs. Why do they want our SMRs? Because they want to stop buying natural gas from Vladimir Putin, but they have no alternatives. And so they need technology. In Romania, on my third day, I was crazy enough to fly to Bucharest to sign a deal to refurbish another CANDU reactor there at a nuclear reactor that's using our technology. So the SMRs are critical to our energy build-out. The refurbishment of our nuclear fleet is important for our build-out, and the fact that we're building net new, I think, should prove to the people of Ontario that we're using an all-the-above approach, and we're throwing everything at this because we're not going to allow Ontario to have scarcity of energy. We're not going to allow brownouts. We're not going to allow energy rates to become so prohibitive that people are not able to live. And that's where we were a decade ago under Kathleen Wynne, respectfully. And we're not going to go back. And that's, I gotta discipline myself, but we want to build a future where the energy is abundant, it's reliable, and it's affordable, and that's what this program does. But I do want to turn it over to my colleagues because I think they may have something to share about the work in nuclear.
Thank you, Stephen. Jess Dixon, I was the parliamentary assistant to the Ministry of Energy just before Stephen. I think really what the message that I would want to send, because Minister Lecce has done a wonderful job talking about the impact on Ontario, is the Ontario nuclear program, including the SMRs, is something that we should be incredibly proud of as a province and as a nation. I don't think we give ourselves enough credit because, frankly, we have a province that does have a strong nuclear fleet. Obviously, it suffered under the previous government, and we've, no pun intended, energized it now. But when you talk about brownouts, it's something that blackouts and brownouts that are experienced all over the world now. I mean, even California. Look at California; they're actually looking at finally, reopening, refurbing their one nuclear generation plant. And how far ahead Ontario is in comparison to the majority of the world is incredible. So it's not just about what we are building here in Ontario, which is this incredibly clean, efficient energy source that, as Stephen mentioned, also has the benefit of sterilizing medical equipment and curing cancer. Again, a success story that we really do not give ourselves enough credit for. I mean, BWXT here, everyone here, you're also quite literally challenging rare disease, which is incredible. But we are, because of our insight, because of our incredibly hard work, this isn't just Ontario. This is something that Ontario is giving to the world, to the rest of the places in the world that, unfortunately, often for ideological reasons, we're not able to harness the power of nuclear. And I really, really want to encourage everyone here, everyone that works at BWXT, everyone in Ontario to understand just how incredible our program is and how, as a province, everyone in this province should be unbelievably proud of this, and we should be shouting it from the rooftop. So definitely take that message home. Thank you.
I would just like to thank everybody today. I am so proud. I've lived in Cambridge my whole life, and I've watched this company develop from when it was Babcock, Goldie, McCullough, and I forget the third name, unfortunately. But the history behind it of building safes, building boilers. I was talking with John about the plant they had at the South Works, which is now the Gaslight District. But I am so proud of this operation and the people that work here. Thank you so much.
That concludes our press conference. Thank you everyone for coming.